Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, I'm going to give you some ideas about how to organize your centers, and I've got a bunch of stuff to show you. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and do that now, and then also hit the little bell so that you're notified every time I post a brand new video about teaching literacy. Okay, so let's talk literacy centers. If you've taught for any amount of time, then you know that it can be very time consuming to find centers, to prep them, to, even put them back together at the end of the week. Literacy centers can be time consuming. And as a teacher, you want to make sure that you're really organized because that will make it less time consuming for you. I don't know about you, but there definitely, early on in my teaching career, there were some years where I was really not organized at all about my literacy centers. And I just spent so much time searching for things. Where was this? Where did I put this? I don't have any ideas when I actually did have ideas. So organization is a must, and plus it's just satisfying to have everything where you know it is. That's just kind of like one less thing to worry about. So I'm curious, and no shame here, on a scale of 1 to 3, how organized or disorganized would you say that you are with your literacy centers? 1 would be like pretty disorganized, like I was some years, and then 3 would be like super organized, good to go. Let me know in the comments. Would love to hear where you're at. So I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. Part 1, I'm going to talk about the teacher organization and where you are organizing your stuff. And then in part 2, I'm going to briefly talk about just like the kids stuff and how they access resources. So starting with part 1, your teacher stuff for centers. Now, I think a big problem that many of us face is that we might have literacy centers, but we forget that we actually have them as the years go on, and we're looking for new stuff when we really do already have materials that we could use or reuse, because it's totally okay to have a center and then revisit it a couple of weeks later, as long as it's something that the kids can do more than once. That's actually a really good thing because they already know how to do the activity, and review is so important anyway that it's a time saver, it's a win-win, right? To bring out another activity later. But again, that comes back to knowing and being aware of what you have in the first place. So this is actually one big reason why when I created the Kindergarten Literacy Club, I made it so that, and by the way, the Kindergarten Literacy Club is a membership for kindergarten teachers or kids or teachers with kids at kindergarten levels. And we give you small group and centers resources that are brand new every single month. But in the club, and you can see the login area there, it's organized into these different categories. Like, for kindergarten, it would be the alphabet. Of course, for like 1st and 2nd grade, it would be like fluency and more advanced phonics skills, right? So I organized the login area so that you could quickly and easily have everything in one place. And so you just know that you log in and you're like, oh yeah, all of my phonics centers are here. All of this is here. So that is why I organized the club that way, just to make it easier for you. However, you may have, even if you're a member of the literacy clubs, you may have other resources. And so it can be helpful to do something like create a Google Doc or any other kind of document that you use and list out your centers. This could be, maybe you actually do like the centers in your classroom, like listening center, partner reading, phonics center, whatever you have. So you could do a few different stations. You could also list centers out by skill, like silent E or punctuation. And so you just keep a running list of all the center activities that you have. And so that way, when it's time to plan, either oh, I need something for the listening center, or oh, we need to work on this particular fluency skill, and you go to that list and you see all your options. So that in itself is a huge time saver. And yeah, it does take a little bit of time on the front end to set up, but once you have it going, you just add to it. It just makes life so much easier to have that list in one place. Okay, so the list is one thing, right? But then what about the actual stuff, right? Like the printables. Kids in K2 or even above, like they require stuff. So what I like to do for my masters is I will have some kind of binder, and in the binder I'll have page protectors where I put the master copies of, especially of centers that I know that I want to do again year after year. And so that way, when it's time to plan, yes, I go to that list in Google Docs or wherever, but then to find the actual materials, I just go to my binder and I flip through, or I have like a table of contents and I find that activity, and then I can make photocopies for the kids to actually use, okay? So that works when it's just like a single sheet of paper, right? But sometimes you'll have actual materials, right? Like these are laminated, they're cut apart, the kids write on them. So that doesn't fit well into a binder. So what I do is I use these Sterilite containers that I got from Amazon. I've had these for a while, so I'm sure there's something similar, but these are like slightly larger than a sheet of paper. And so I will put the stuff that's not, binder friendly into this bin, okay? And, as far as organizing the bins, like I said, for the list, you could have a bin for like your partner reading center or your phonics center, whatever. You could also just have a bin by skill. So like fluency, a certain phonics skill like silent E, stuff like that. It's really up to you how you organize things, and this just comes down to how you plan. I always think it's important to make sure that you're not just like filling centers, but planning by skills first. So if you do organize, like if you have like a binder for partner reading or whatever, you just want to think when you're planning, okay, what specific skills am I hitting with this partner reading center? So just a little aside there. But anyway, whatever organization system you choose, you would have a binder, and I usually use like a big one for that center, but then you'd also have at least one bin. If you've been teaching for a while, you probably have more bins for that center. So it's like you've got the Google Doc list that tells you where to look in the binder or the bin, and they're all organized either by skill or type of center, okay? So that is most of what I do for my teacher organization stuff. Sometimes I'll also have like a manila envelope if there's little pieces, and you can fit a manila envelope in this type of container. But that's basically it. It's very simple, but it does work well. So now let's shift gears and let's talk about the kids' materials and what they're using in centers and how to keep that organized. Okay, so if you're working with students who can read, or they're at least looking at books, I really like to have some kind of book bag. This is just kind of like recycled material. Again, I got it on Amazon. I've also had book bins for them. And so usually there will be some part of centers where they're either reading independently to build fluency or reading with a partner. Again, this is for kids who can actually read, of course, like with kindergartners or first graders that can't read yet. This doesn't apply. But I do like to have a book bag or bin. If you are having your kids physically rotate and go to different centers and you need them to have books in more than one place, like for example, maybe they're doing a word hunt with books, it can be helpful to have a bag because they can just take it with them and carry it. Another thing that I like to do, and this can actually fit in the bag, which again is helpful if you're having kids physically rotate to go to centers, is to have some kind of sturdy folder. So this is like the plasticky kind. And what I have here is a green dot and a red dot on this side. And so when there are papers or things that they're doing, sometimes in a center, kids won't finish what they're doing. And it might be like a worksheet or something that they're filling out. And you may want them to finish it later, or it may cause them distress to not be finished, right? Like it does stress some kids out, like, oh, Mrs. Ryan, I'm not done yet, okay? Well, have them put that work that they're still working on in the green side, and then the next day they can pick it up and start it again. Now, if a piece of work is finished, they can put it in the red side, and what I will do is every day or a couple of days a week, I will go through their folders. I'll like have them turn them in, and I will take the red side work that's finished and I'll look at it, I'll take it out, and I'll, return it so that they can send it home, right? So I'm kind of keeping their folders cleaned out by reviewing their work. But this folder concept is really handy, and even if you're not having the kids rotate and go to different centers, it can be really helpful to have something like this. If you get this one doesn't have it, but if you get the folders with brads in the middle, you could even put like little, like visual reminders of what they're supposed to be doing in there. So the possibilities are endless. Okay, so we talked about the bags, talked about the folders, and at the actual center, there might be materials, like I said, where in your bin, you have some things that the kids are gonna do, like in a plastic baggie or so. And then what I like to do is I will have a bin. It doesn't have to be smaller than your teacher bins. I just chose these because I like to be able to easily see, okay, this is my bin, this is the kids' bin. And you can put whatever they need to work on, whether it's papers or otherwise, in here. And so if you have physical centers in the classroom, this keeps things organized. But if the kids are maybe even working at their seats, they can still, you can have these bins stacked up and they know, okay, I need to go get this from this bin. So I like to just keep it really consistent. Of course, if there are materials that don't fit in here, you could use a bigger bin. You could have like something else going on with it. But I like this consistent, routine and organization, because then they know how to put it away and all that jazz. And so this system isn't fancy, but it works really well for me. Earlier in the video, I talked a little bit about my kindergarten literacy club and first and second grade literacy club. Again, these are memberships for teachers, and we really focus on giving you resources for that centers and small group block in your day. And the reason why we focus on that is because I know from my experience as a classroom teacher before I became a reading specialist, that time where kids are working independently and you're pulling small groups can be some of the most time-consuming stuff to plan for in your whole school day. So every single month, on the first of the month, our kindergarten literacy club and first and second grade literacy club members get brand new centers based on the science of reading. They get small group resources, including with decodables, again, based on the science of reading. And having those materials ready to use, it's just such a relief, and you don't have to worry about it. You have new, fun stuff for your kids. It gets them excited. It's exciting for you to see what's new. So you get lots of goodies beyond that too, even professional development, all kinds of good stuff in the club. So if you're not familiar with the clubs, definitely look in the caption for the link. At that link, you can read more about them. You can join the wait list. And I'd love to help you save time with your literacy centers, because I know that it can be a lot to plan for and keep everything straight. All right, I hope that seeing my organization system was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. But otherwise, before you leave, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.